In this module, you're going to be learning more about how to write a demonstrative speech, and at the end of it, you're going to perform one yourself. A demonstrative speech is a fancy term for a how-to speech. It's where you teach someone how to do something. There are a million YouTube videos or Skillshare videos that are in this genre, but the book doesn't really walk you through how to do it, so I thought I'd go into a little bit of detail about it. So what is a demonstrative speech? The goals are to show someone how to do something. So you want to walk the audience through the steps involved. In other words, you're teaching them. The main organizational approach here is going to be sequential. So you want to go through the steps involved. And the best kinds of evidence are going to be sensory details, descriptions, and explanations. Explanations are crucial. You want to explain why you need to do each of the steps. So what kind of pre-writing is ideal for this type of speech? Well, the first thing you want to do is ask yourself some questions to select the topic. So you might ask yourself, what's something I'm good at? Is there a hobby or a strength that I'd like to teach other people how to do? Or what do I know a lot about? Those questions will help you to sort of narrow down the list of ideas for what you might want to teach your audience to do. And then you can also ask yourself some questions to select evidence and details. So once you decide what you want to give the speech on, what are the general steps in this process? What are some of the common pitfalls, or where do people struggle? What do you think other people do wrong? Or what do you think people should do to improve it? Another thing you can ask is, where did I struggle when I first started learning to do this? And that can really help you to develop, especially the later parts of the speech. Like the general steps are going to take you through the first couple paragraphs of the body, but you got to have something for the last part or the conclusion. And the pitfalls and struggles and finishing steps, those are really good things for that last part. An outline is probably your best bet as far as pre-writing for a demonstrative speech, because you want to make sure that you cover all of the steps, and you want to make sure that you explain why they're important. Just telling the audience to do something isn't going to help them to understand why they do it. You want to separate the process into 3 or 4 big steps. This might be materials that you need, getting started, the main part of it, and finishing. Or, it could be research, action, and then what's next. Or you might do, here's how you start, here's how you do it, here are the pitfalls. But you need to kind of first separate it into chunks so that you can use those for your paragraphs. And then you'll want to detail all the little steps in between. So say you're making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Well, seems pretty simple. Put peanut butter on the bread, put jelly on the bread, put it together, cut it up, right? Well, there's actually a lot of other little steps involved in there. You have to take the peanut butter out of the cabinet. You have to take the knife, or 2 knives, I always use 2 knives, out of the drawer, and you have to have a plate to put the bread on. You need to get the bread out of the cabinet, undo the twist tie, pull 2 pieces of bread out, place them on the plate. Do you need to stir the peanut butter first? Or is it is it the kind that's not stirred? Do you put the peanut butter on first or the jelly on first? How do you cut the bread? All of those are kind of the little steps involved in making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you want to be specific. The audience might not have done this before, so explain each step. It's also important to describe objects or unfamiliar terms. You may be an expert in this, but the audience might not know what you mean if you refer to a term that isn't common knowledge. So make sure you explain those. So for your goal statement or your thesis, here's a couple of templates you can use. So remember, you're summarizing the goal of your speech in a sentence or so in your goal statement. So you might want to say something like, I want to show my audience how to blank. I want my audience to better involve the steps in blank. And that will help you get your goal statement. And then to use that to create the thesis statement, you want to summarize the goal and the major steps. And I'm going to be looking for those major steps in your thesis statements when I'm grading them in 1 to 2 sentences. So you might start by saying, process involves, and then the steps, blank, blank, and blank. Writing a paper involves pre-writing, drafting, and revision. Or you might use a slightly more advanced one. To effectively blank, you should blank, blank, and blank. To effectively play the guitar, you want to first select a guitar that works for you, then tune your instrument, then learn the basics of the guitar. It's not a great example, but to do your laundry, you want to first sort out the colors from the whites, then wash the clothes, then dry and fold them. Those would be examples of good thesis statements. Then you want to build your body. Remember, we do the body before we do the intro and the conclusion. So you want to divide the process into 3 to 4 parts to make your body paragraphs. And those are going to be your major steps. And it can help to kind of sort of envision the steps you take through the process, like to think about how you do this step by step. One common way of explaining it is to start with the first body paragraph being preparation, so initial steps and materials, then making the thing as the second body paragraph, and then finishing as the third body paragraph. Another thing you want to think about is how you're going to go through the steps, and the easiest way to do this is sequentially. So first step in the process, second step in the process, third step in the process. Then you want to build your body. So for your topic sentences, you're going to name the step. If I'm doing the preparation step, the first thing is gathering materials. So first you'll want to prepare to get started and gather your materials. That can be your topic sentence. In the exposition, that middle part of the paragraph, you're going to want like a detailed explanation of the sub-steps for that paragraph. You also kind of want to include some common pitfalls and explain why the step is important. In your transition sentence, that last sentence of the paragraph, you want an explanation of what the tasks would look like at this stage, and you kind of want to summarize the steps that you talked about in that paragraph. Once you have your body, you'll go ahead and you'll write your introduction, and you should already have your goal statement, your thesis statement, so we're going to go back to the beginning of the introduction and go with your hook. A good way to start these is to appeal to your audience's desire to learn about your topic, especially with rhetorical questions. Have you ever wanted to learn to draw better? Or have you ever wondered what goes into fixing a watch? Things like that are really good ways to start these speeches. And then the context, you want to tell the reader why they want to learn what you want to teach them or why you're an expert on this topic. I've been repairing watches for 10 years, and I've had many people ask me if there's, simple fixes they can do themselves rather than taking their watch to a repairman or buying a new one. Something like that. Then in your conclusion, you want to rephrase this thesis statement and goal statement. And at this stage, you want to kind of reiterate your audience relevance link. So why should the audience care? What do you want them to learn? This is also a good place to include pitfalls if you don't include it earlier in the speech. And a clincher is super important, as always. Vivid imagery is a good choice here. So are rhetorical questions. Depending on your style and your speech, you can go either way on those. Demonstrative speeches are guides, so it's really helpful to record yourself doing the thing that you're explaining, and visual aids are especially helpful here because a lot of the steps may not be as easy to understand just explaining them as they are if you can show someone how to do it. If I wanted to show someone how to do an E minor on a guitar, I could say that you need to put your fingers on the second fret of, I'm trying to remember how to do it, of the 4th and 5th strings, but that's kind of confusing, right? But if I have a guitar in front of me and I say you put your fingers on the 2nd fret of the 4th and 5th strings, again, don't quote me on that. I'm trying to do it from memory, and I could actually do it for you, but I can't explain it. And you show them where those strings are, then that works a lot better. So I am definitely going to want to see visual aids with these speeches. Some sample speeches, these can be helpful for giving you a sense of the style, although I'm sure you've seen many of them in your life. This one is how, some examples of how to write one. This is a pretty productive one, how to tie a tie. This is a fun one, and fun ones are great. How to make a fire with lemon, or if you want an example of one that takes you through something that seems super, super simple and kind of makes a big deal out of it for humor's sake, how to boil water. I've seen how to breathe. I've seen how to cook ice, and those are often really fun. So that has been our kind of breakdown on how to write a demonstrative speech, and I am really, really looking forward to seeing what you guys have to teach me. I love learning new things. So have fun with it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.